You're listening to Saturday Morning Media. And now, back to our show. Here we go. Welcome to the Grantcast. My name is Grant Baciocco. It is a pleasure to have you here, following along, listening along, subscribing, downloading. Hey, just even glancing at the incredible episode art by Stephen Staver. Hey, welcome. It's good to see you. I got a couple things I want to talk to you today. I got invited to go to a special announcement ceremony for Knott's Berry Farm when they were going to be announcing all their stuff for Knott's Scary Farm. And for the past couple years, Puppet Up has been involved with that, and Puppet Up is no longer involved in that. But I thought it'd be fun to go down to it, and I was invited, and I invited another Puppet Up member to come down with me, and we were going to meet down there and go in, and we ended up not going. We ended up going out to dinner instead, because I think probably we were both a little bit like, why are we going to this thing that's just going to make us sad because we're not performing in it? So we went and had a lovely dinner. But what I wanted to say was I was driving down, and I kind of left at a time. I wanted to leave earlier, and I didn't get away, and if there's no traffic from here down to Knott's Berry Farm, you can do it maybe like 40 minutes if there's no traffic at all. 30 to 40 minutes if the freeways are wide open. But generally, you plan an hour, if not more. And this day, I got in the car and I started heading down there, and I watched as my GPS went from 55 minutes to an hour and 5 minutes, and all this stuff. Anyway, creeping along on the freeway, I was, as you do when you're in bumper-to-bumper traffic, you're looking around, and there was a big billboard for what I assume is a winery, and I'm not a drinker, so I'm not familiar at all with wines and all that kind of stuff, but it was Stella something, which may be a big famous winemaker that I don't know of off the top of my head, but it was Stella something winery, and it had, a big bottle of wine with the logo on it, and then there was this picture of this woman who, the best I can describe her is she looks like she came right out of New Mexico. She has sort of like the flannel top on, and she's got kind of like this, I don't know, this is my impression thinking of it afterwards, but like turquoise jewelry. And she's a younger woman, and long blonde hair, and then a big, like one of those big brown hats. You know what I'm talking about? Like it's got it looks, I don't know, it's kind of like a cowboy hat, but it's not it's sort of goes straight up and then flat on top. But I'm horrible at describing this. But she's just looked like this woman, and her name was on the board on the billboard. But that's all it said. It was her picture, her name, and then the bottle of the wine. And I'm just traveling down the freeway, and I look over at this and I go, who is this? Who is this person? Now, I don't say that out loud. That'll factor into the story here in a second. I don't say that out loud, but in my head, I'm like, who is this woman, and how am I supposed to know her, and how is her being on this billboard making me want to buy wine? I don't understand it. So anyway, I got down to Knott's Berry Farm. I park in the parking lot, and I'm waiting for my friend to show up because then we're going to go into this event. And I'm just sitting there, and I take out my phone, and I open the Facebook app, sitting in the front seat of my car. And as I'm scrolling through, and anyone who scrolled through Facebook they just push you, they push you pages they want you to, like, right? And all of a sudden, as I'm scrolling through, it was this woman from the billboard. I don't remember her name, but she's like a country western singer. And I've never heard of her. And not that I keep up on country western music, but this is her. And I was like, how did this happen? Because you know how people always say that their phones are listening to them, how they'll talk about needing snow boots and all the ads are for snow boots. Well, I just passed this billboard. And I did not say anything out loud. I didn't say like, oh, I wonder who that is, or say her name. So it's getting to be like Minority Report in here, because they're just tracking your phones and they know that you passed this billboard. And so they're going to try and feed you this person, and it's crazy. And I'm not saying, I mean, that's what it is. And actually, I have a lot of the tracking stuff turned off on my phone, so it's very interesting and strange to me. And I just wanted to share that story. The other night, I had a reoccurring nightmare. Now, this wasn't as bad as what I'm talking about the other night where I couldn't breathe, but I had a reoccurring my annual reoccurring nightmare, and I realized, oh, this must happen when people start talking about back to school. My reoccurring nightmare that I am teaching again, and I was in a class, and it was like third graders, I think, and I was just trying to get them to do things, and they weren't listening, they weren't paying attention, and I just started getting so angry. And I just started handing out detentions. And I was like, you're getting a detention. You're detention. You're getting a detention. And then, what? And then some other kid said something. I go, you got a detention too. Who else wants them? Come on. Who else wants? And I quickly, and I knew in the dream, in my head, I was like, oh, I'm going to get in trouble for this. Like the principal is going to get upset that I'm handing out so many detentions, and I should be able to control my class. But then I woke up for that. And I was like, it was just a dream, and I'm not going to get in trouble. And screw those dream third graders. The other day, I'm having a lot of trouble with this Toilet plush. We did a Toilet plush, and I'm not going to get too much into this because it is so frustrating, but the plush we're supposed to ship by September 6th. As I'm recording this, it is September 8th. And on August 7th, I got an email from the company saying, yes, the plush arrived at the warehouse, and we are going to get them ready to ship out. So we are on schedule for September 6th. Well, September 6th came, and I just said, hey, how we doing? And it said, oh, there's been a problem. There's going to be a delay in shipping. We're unable to. They're going to be shipped later. And I said, well, what happened? You told me that they were all at the warehouse and everything. There's just been some delays. And I said, okay, well, I have people messaging me every single day asking me when the plush is going to ship. Well, you can just tell them that there's been a delay and that you're very sorry there has been a delay. And I said, oh, no. You have to tell them. You have to tell them that there is going to be a delay. Oh, well, we'll send an email. When? Well, we'll let all the buyers know. When? Well, we'll let them know. I am so upset. I had somebody today going like, did you just take all of our money and you're not giving it back? And it's like, I got no money. And even if they all shipped on time, I'm not getting money, but I ain't getting no money. And I'm wondering where my plush is as well, the plush I ordered. So anyway, I was very upset about that. And yesterday when I woke up, I was just in a mood because I was dealing with all this stuff. And I had a cameo I had to do. Toilet had a cameo from someone. So I filmed that, and then I filmed a couple other little things. I've been doing this thing on Facebook. I don't know why I decided to do this project, but I always need like a time-consuming project like this, I guess. And that is for everybody I'm connected to on Facebook who has their birthday visible, I leave a birthday message for them. And I'm only going to do it for a year. A Toilet leaves a birthday message for them, a video message. I'm only going to do it for a year. And if you become my friend and your birthday is already passed, because I've started on May 25th, then you're not going to get a birthday message. Sorry. I'm just doing it for the people who I'm friends with now, and I see their birthdays come up listed on Facebook. So anyway, I started doing those videos. I did the cameo, and then I filmed like a little video with Toilet. It's too long to explain to get into here. But then I just realized after that, I felt worlds better. So I think I have to create. And I think that's why I just need to create. That's what it is. I just need to create. Now, Brian Kennedy, who has been a longtime supporter, a big Dr. Floyd fan, and very nicely gives me feedback on these episodes that you're listening to when I put them out. He wanted to hear the story about frog fishing with Grandpa Jim. And I guess I had mentioned that before. I know I told the mullet hunting story. There's not a ton to this story other than one day Grandpa Jim, one summer we were spending up there, said that we were going to go frog fishing. because he's going to make frog legs. And you kids are going to have frog legs, and you're going to love it. And it's basically me, my cousin Brian, and my cousin Brent. I don't think my brother was with us on that trip. But so anyway, we went out to High's Pond, which was a place that we always used to go to fish. And Mr. and Mrs. High were fantastic, and they always let us fish on their property. I think they both have passed on. But sending good thoughts out to them. And so anyway, we went out there, and I like the outdoors. I like being outdoors. I like camping. I don't necessarily like all the work that goes along with it. So like this whole thing of like, oh, we got to tromp all the way around this pond, and we got to throw. And I think my grandfather was using maybe like a fly fish thing to catch the frogs. But anyway, I just remember my grandfather was up at the pond. I was standing about 15, 20 feet away, and my cousin Brian was somewhere like in between us. He was probably up close to where Grandpa Jim was. And all of a sudden, Grandpa Jim hooked a frog. Oh, and I apologize if you were somebody who thinks fishing and sort of hunting and all that kind of stuff is bad. I'm just telling the story. This is what happened. And Grandpa Jim yanked back on the fishing pole, and all of a sudden, I just realized that I had this frog flying at my face because he pulled it back up over his shoulder, and so I ducked just at the right time to watch this frog, still hooked on the line, go sailing above me and come back. So we caught a couple frogs, and Grandpa cooked them up, and we had frog legs. And it is cliche, but it tasted like chicken. Now, I will say he cooked them just like chicken, like you would cook fried chicken. So that may be why it tasted like chicken. I could not discern really any difference between frog legs and chicken, but there you go. It was not, as I said, this isn't a big involved story. It's just a story of what happened. But speaking of that, I got a scanner. Now, this is not sponsored. There's a scanner. It's called the Plus Tech ePhoto Z300, I think. And it is this little scanner. It's at an angle, and it's really built for scanning photos. And you can just take a stack of photos, and you can't like stack them up and it'll be fed automatically, but you have to feed them one at a time. But it just goes row, 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 and it just burns through a whole stack of photos. I think yesterday afternoon, I scanned 415 photos in like an hour and a half, but that also included me taking them out of the albums, which is how I'm connecting this whole story. Anyway, I recommend that. I've had this scanner for 2 days, and now I'm like looking around the house. What can I scan? What can I scan? My grandmother, Grandpa Jim's wife, Grandma Donnie, I was the first grandchild, and she decided very early on that she was going to make photo albums for all her grandkids. And so she did, and she would just make a photo album, and she would fill it up with photos, and then once it was filled up, she would buy another photo album, and she would fill it up with photos, and then she'd buy another one. And so I think I have 7 or 8 photo albums, and then my cousin Brian maybe has 6 or 7, and then it kind of goes down for there. My poor cousin Brittany got the short end there just because she was the youngest, and sadly Grandma Donnie passed away at a young age. I've realized that these photo albums, whether they are great and they are Grandma Donnie made these, and she made them for us, right? They're very, very cool. The problem is that these are photo albums from the 80s with the sticky paper that causes the photos to stick to them, and like it eats away at the photos. And so I've just kind of made the decision that I'm going to take the photos out of all the albums. I'm going to get rid of the albums. I'm going to scan all the photos. And then I'm going to ask my parents if they want the photos. Otherwise, I don't know what I'm going to do with them. I don't know if I can bring myself to throw them away. But what's been interesting is for 2 weeks every summer, I would spend up in Oregon. And so a lot of these photo albums have pictures from spending the time up in Oregon. And it has been great looking back as I'm scanning these photos at all those times. And what I love is so far out of this one photo album went from like 1983, I think fall of 1983 through the beginning of 1985. Or maybe it went from the summer of 83 through the end of 84 and just the beginning of 85. Anyway, regardless, that I would always be up at my grandparents' for 4th of July. And so there are several pictures of me helping my grandfather hang the flag on the 4th of July, because he would always put out a flag every 4th of July. And so it's just funny. I was like, oh, I wonder if there's enough of these photos where I could make a little flip book of me growing older every year helping my grandfather hang the flag for the 4th of July. I will keep you posted. I will let you know. But I recommend this scanner. The scanner is great. It does documents too, but it's really just, if you need to scan photos, this is it. And I already have, I have the feeling that my mom's going to be like, well, I'm going to send you a box of photos. You can scan them for me. Well, that's going to do it for this episode of the Grantcast. I think I've rambled on long enough. Thank you for listening. Thank you for checking it out. Thanks, as always, for the feedback. Brian always sends his feedback via Twitter. And it's nothing against Elon Musk or whatever is happening on Twitter or X or whatever it is. I just don't open the Twitter app as much anymore, though I appreciate the feedback. And I appreciate the feedback, as always. So thank you for listening, and I will talk to you soon. Bye, everybody. This episode of the Grantcast was edited by Stephen Staver, who probably did the artwork as well. This episode was made possible by the Saturday Morning Media Patreon patrons who've gone to patreon.com/Saturday Morning Media and set up a pledge for as little as $1 a month. Big shout out to all of our patrons, and a special shout out to our patron producers: Eve Cunning, Kathy Crawford, Tony Urbano, Brandy, David Akers, Paul, Scott Armstrong, and Vicky Sebring. Patrons at the behind-the-scenes level and above get access to a video of the recording of this show. If you'd like to become a patron and receive episodes of the Grantcast before they are released, visit patreon.com/Saturday Morning Media and set up your monthly pledge today. And thank you for your support. This episode of the Grantcast is copyright 2023 Saturday Morning Media, Grant Baciocco, executive producer, all rights reserved. www.saturdaymorningmedia.com.
You've been listening to Saturday Morning Media. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.